where do you think it's the most beneficial or efficient to spend your time and your money?
That's kind of a loaded question, and I'll probably answer it two ways, but I believe timber stand improvement to encourage early successional growth and available browse and cover is probably your biggest bang for your buck. You know, everybody talks food plots, and I'm a proponent of food plots because if you've got high deer density, it's great to produce food. But I think what's being overlooked is the amount of food that can be produced in a large woods. If it's a closed canopy woods, park effect, you can see 100 yards all the way through it or farther, then there's nothing there for them to feed on. But, you know, a few weekends with a chainsaw can create just a huge amount of food and cover for deer. And that really, you talk about long range, you know, that's good for 5, 6, 7 years once you do that.
Right.
And just simple maintenance.
So when you say early successional growth, you're talking shoulders down.
Right.
Talking
to the ground. Within a deer's reach.
Okay.
And, you know, the more cover and browse, and especially, you know, the stress periods once winter comes in.
So really what you're saying is, you know, food plots are great, but to do a food plot right, you kind of, if it's a bigger one, you need equipment. You need bigger gear. You need a four-wheeler, disc, and all kinds of stuff. Whereas $200 chainsaw, Craigslist,
$200
you can do some
chainsaw and a few
work.
extra tools and a buddy, and on a weekend, and you can feed deer for the next year.
Right, right. I like that. So you'd say when you design a property, are you thinking, okay, if I hinge cut this, what's the wind going to do? How's it going to change the wind? Or do you just focus on, you know what, the wind's going to do what it's going to do. I got to take care of my prep before the hunt.
I often try, you know, when it comes to, I'm going to put 3 major doe bedding groups over here, and I'm going to put a half a dozen isolated buck beds over here. I really don't care about the wind because the deer are going to do whatever they want to do. But I often set up pinch points and recommended stand locations. And that's when I'm definitely thinking about the wind, because the bucks are going to approach and leave based on certain wind conditions. And so I want the landowner who's hiring me to have a stand that he can enter and exit. And then I just give him basically directions on, you're going to hunt this stand at this time period of the year with this type of wind condition. But I'm also going to highly suggest that he get his scent control as good as he possibly can.
Right.
Because if you spend any time in the woods, you're going to find out that wind pretty much is 365 during any 24-hour time period. Yeah. And openings, hills, edges, strange things happen. So I just always count on it always being around me. And I try to reduce it as much as I possibly can. So you look at the forecast,
but you're thinking, well, the wind's going to be wrong at some point.
And you know, just in case people are listening to this, watching this, I'm not a believer that you can totally fool a deer's nose. You can't, okay? But I do believe that I can make them think I'm 120 yards away instead of 20 yards away. Okay. Where they're not nearly as cautious, they don't change their direction, they kind of stop, maybe, you know, I might smell them in, and then just move on. But that, you know, lock up, stomp your feet, snort, and turn around and run, that's the one thing you don't want.
That's a hunt breaker right there, yeah. Right.